see me? I could never be a Calypso monarch because all monarchs control a kingdom. And from the old government, I don't get recognition. Because when they give away scholarships, they just give everybody else and don't give the Calypso monarch none.
All right, and this is where I get to jump in and say good evening, a very warm and pleasant evening to everyone who tuned in, logged on, inside the Zoom, inside YouTube. Welcome to the 6th edition of Let's Talk Calypso, all part of the Calypso History Month celebration, and at least that's where we started the thing off. My name is Marcus Baptiste, and we're doing something friendly and nice. So this is where I encourage you to maybe tell a friend, come inside the Zoom, share the information, and if not, you could listen as well via the stream on YouTube. And we're doing this evening's session the topic is Calypso Monarchs from 1970 to 2020. A bit ambitious. I'm pulling my hair a little bit, but all the same, we're going to have a little bit of fun this evening as we explore the Calypso Monarchs. And not just the monarchs in themselves, but we might be looking, or not might, but we will be looking at some of the trends that we see over the years with the Calypso monarch. I have a little bacchanal question to ask earlier, but I will save that question for down in the end, maybe close to 11 o'clock or somewhere down there. We have plenty monarchs to go through. And tonight will be a night that we're listening to music. We're listening some of the music in between, of course, because of the 3-hour limitation and to go for 50 years. We wouldn't get to listen the whole Calypso, but this is where I would encourage you to go out, maybe listen some of the music you would have known and some that you may not know. Even for me preparing this show, I came across Calypsos that I and all wasn't too familiar with. But that's what we're all about. We're talking Calypso. Again, this is not a lecture forum. This is a forum anybody, everybody could jump inside and partake in. You could make your point, ask a question. Even if you don't want to ask the question on camera, you could throw it out in the chat, either in Zoom or on YouTube. I will check it out and we're going down the road. I know we have a monarch inside, but I know later on that monarch will jump out. And who knows, we may get one or two other monarchs passing through this evening. But we get anything going. We're going from 1970. Now, the reason why I went from 70, I think just the 50 years is a nice landmark to use. Knowing the time limitation. Again, 50 years of Calypso, we inside the Calypso History Month. Let's take it from 1970. Now, just about 1970, something interesting was happening with the Calypso. We would have seen the Calypso monarch in 68 and 69 being successfully defended by the late Kelvin Pope, the mighty Duke. And 1970 and 1971, he went on to also capture the monarch, the titles, and he did so creating what will be history in Calypso, a history that I am not sure could ever be repeated. Now, let me mark my words, I'm not sure. There are things and trends that we, the observers, might look and say that sometimes we just put our foot in the mouth. But I am cautious when I am saying I don't think it's possible. And that's having 4 successful Calypso monarch titles. As I said, Duke won in 68, 69. And in 1970, he won with 2 selections, Brotherhood of Man and See Through. Now, while we listen in some of the songs, I want yeah, I wanted to encourage you all to let's see if we could find little patterns that might be occurring, and maybe sending you down the road to listen to the selections. So let's take in a little piece of one of Duke's selection from that night. The name of it is See Through. Taking this one.
They start back again, this indecent dressing in modern state. Attire complaint, this indecent dressing in modern state. When they brought the tight skirt and took it light, they bring the meaning and say, alright, now they get one from the fashion book. They come in town with this see-through look. They showing their belt, they showing their ass. You see it from here, up, you see it their bust. Stop, let's not be unfair. There must be one ventilation to get fresh air. A girl from Woodbrook and the whole town shop with sissy to look. Police on duty, holding back the crowd who run in to see. Two dogs was committing a common act. Untangle themselves and they start to back. A taxi driver looking to turn right. Watch the girl and the man swear at traffic light. She exposed she name. She exposed she them. You could see she slept. Yeah. You could see her rip. Yeah. And next woman shout, if this is the in thing, I say no. Old Mistress Andrew, she and all say she ain't see through. That got me so mad, if I watch the grandson a beachy bag. I walk up to she, I say, ma'am, good morning. With all due respect, change your dress your way. She say, you're too fast, that is my affair. You let me down, run, son, you can't tell me what to wear. She showing she tried, leg, she showing she asked. Greg, you could see she cold. Age, you could see she sports. Age, is anything to laugh. If the breeze blows too cold, she could catch a draft.
So that was one of the selections of 1917. One time I jump into 1971.
All right.
Here's one, Melvie and Yvonne.
Melvie and she never Yvonne, them two always in confusion. Melvie and she never Yvonne, always running competition. And Melvie holding his strength, that is understood, but she won't impress Yvonne, she business good. Politics sound loud and clear, and the boy right there, because she want Yvonne to hear what she has to say. Now we don't hear she, Harry, come and get your pencil and paper. Write this food stuff down for the grocer. I tell you 12 pounds of sugar, mark 2, 10 pounds of flour, 9 pounds of onion. One look, you write it to damn closer. Yvonne stop the food she cooking, come she hears and stand up listening. When she hears the big grocery order, she starts to spin along like Jack Spanier. All she on her Jane, immediately start a loud complaint, quarreling with she. Since you wake up this morning, you're idling. Don't you know the house no needs some spring cleaning? Look, young lady, don't leave for piano practice before you do my housework careless. You have to wash the mix master, spoon, use the light vacuum cleaner, the broom, the wash machine needs a good scrub, the tub, look, and don't skylark on the job. But I was right that morning, where I stand up, I'm moving. Melvie said and call her next one. Now she and Ellen, Kong in Yvonne, not to say a fast. Thing Mary shout, but she's the fan of fast when she wants to fan out. And if I so like her this, as she go and say, I would have talked and let the husband jump in my day. Look here, Elaine, I don't even watch at Yvonne. You know I don't like confusion. Hey, but let me pinch you about something. And then she pawned she wedding ring. Cut through, they cut she current yesterday. So say, it's picture she uses there. Even time she radio softer, but all she hearing is a whisper. This time where she there, she grinding, because she's shy, she they fucking. She gone out on the step from a window seat, fishbone in she hand, eating openly. I have so many guests for dinner tonight. I only hope that my pastry comes out all right. But here the daughter. Mommy, I'm quite in the bathroom bathing. I sure smell like something burning. Ma, you better turn the smoke here in. Shut up, ma, tell you it's burning. Your stop, you could have pinched me that easy. Damn it, your mouth does run like parrot exit.
A little bit of Bacchanal. That's two from the Mighty Duke, as he successfully defended his monarch title, and he did so from 68 to 71. Edwin, good evening, welcome. Nice. So let's go Bacchanal to start the thing off. As we speak, again, I want to just encourage a little, maybe at the end of the decade, we could throw it up and start to discuss some of the things. But look at two of the selections so far that would have come out for as options to the Calypso Monarch. We see in 1972 the return of the mighty Sparrow to competition. And Sparrow in outer competition. He would have been out of competition since 1964. Right? And so when I look at that, I say from 64 and now back in 72, I ask the question, why? Where Sparrow was all that time? And the response I was given by good sources is that he felt that he didn't have good enough competition for the Calypso Monarch title. So by the time he came back in 72, he gave us Drunk and the other popular Drunk and Disorderly, and one called Rope, which was his fifth Calypso Monarch title. Sparrow then successfully defended his monarch two more times in 1973 and 74. So for that 4-year or 5-year period, 70, 71, 72, 73, and 74, just two men so far would have won the then Calypso King title. All right, so we taken in one from 1973 from Sparrow, one entitled Same Place, Same Time, Same Place. A little reference to how Carnival in 72 would have been pushed back because of the polio outbreak. Sometimes when you look back, how times have changed and we live in the same life still, right?
Mrs. White called me up Sunday night. From the town on the phone she was tired. This is Carnival and I love me Bacchanal. That is what she said to me. No more damn formality. Once more I am free again. So meet me in Port of Spain the same time, on the same place. Make it fast, cause I'm ready to shake me waist. Try and understand. I leave the hunky man, and I want a big nigga man to hop up in the band. Bring a flask and a glass, so she said, and for my feet and the heat on me head, I want a alpaca and I want a sailor hat. Then I want that fancy suit to have me looking cute. And when you pick up everything, just remember I am waiting same time in the same place. Make it fast, cause I'm ready to shake me waist. Darling, try and understand that I leave the honky man, and I want that big nigga man to hop up in the van.
You think a man could sing that in 2021 and get away with that as and win Monarch? Again, that was one of the selections from 73. In 1974, Sparrow again. Here's one entitled Same, We Passed That Stage.
And call us low class. Courteous words like thank you, I'm sorry, please. And would you forgive me, which we once knew, have now become a forgotten thing of the past. We convict and we condemn in our minds, our bosom pile, without a trial. But this wickedness, crookedness, stupid and malicious kind is out of style. Can't we be constructive and try to engage in something to alleviate this present shortage? Control the urge to damage, and as a people be less savage. In this day and age, we must remember we passed that stage. We don't hesitate to try and create and then perpetuate fictitious impressions. Saturday night infidelity is a damn joke. We cussing, we whoring, we smoking dope. Sunday morning, we holier than the Pope. The wanton consumption of alcohol just to get drunk and peddling junk with the asinine presumption that man should treat woman like skunk. Now that's pure bunk. Why can't we forget about riot and scrimmage? Ignore the old talk and gossip in the village. Cease the damn wastage. Stop going on the rampage in this day and age. Remember we passed that stage.
Okay, so, and that's how the thing going down. So that would have been Sparrow's 5th, 6th, and 7th title in 72, 73, and 74. So all who would have just joined the chat, good evening and welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm here inside. I see you. So as we continue, 1975, interestingly, we see the Calypso Monarch being the Grandmaster. And interestingly, Kitchener would have won the Monarch only once, only this one time. While he would have been the champion on the road in terms of being the Calypso King, it was only one. And here's a little piece, Kitchener in 75, one of his selections.
And just so start feeling hot. I don't know what to say with this funny temperature I got. Since I know me, I never felt such a heat. Oh Lord, this carnival fever attacked me from head to feet. Oh Lord, fever, fever in the head, fever, fever in the bed, fever, fever in the nose, fever, fever on the toe, fever, fever in the waist, fever, fever in the face. All I want to do is drink around, yeah. All I want to do is stumble down, yeah. All I want to do is tinkle it, yeah. All I want to do is break away, yeah. This carnival fever is sending me out of my mind. I just need to hold a woman and jump up and whine. Please excuse me because I have no control. The virus probably got me body and soul. Oh Lord, fever, fever in the head, fever, fever on the bed, fever, fever in the nose, fever, fever on the toe, fever. Viva, viva reggae ways. Viva, viva every place. All I wanna do is drink her up. Yeah. All I wanna do is tumble up. Yeah. All I wanna do is think on it. Yeah. All I wanna do is break away. Yeah.
Of course, Kitchener would have a nice little time. I see somebody with their hand up. Of course, good evening, Miss. I know your name. Or Hamidullah, are you? You're just that hand up by accident. All right. Although we keeping the thing rolling. So far, Duke 2, Sparrow 3, Kitchener 1. And then by 1976, the schoolboy, the school teacher, not the schoolboy, the school teacher jumped in, and he, after knocking for some years, finally reached, finally reached winning the Calypso Monarch title. And I'm talking about, we're talking about Hollis, Liverpool, Chalk Dust. And Chalk Dust came in 1976 with his first title. 2 selections. Of course, we're talking about all these, in these days, we talking about 1 song and 2 song Monarch. It's interesting to note that in 1958 was the first time 2 songs was sung in the Calypso King competition. So, right? So that a little piece of history there. 58, and then later on, as we will come to realize, they switched back to 1 song. By 76, Choppers maybe start to get a little fed up at the thing. But hear him what make him keep singing Calypso.
Back in 68, when I start to sing Calypso, I used to shoot straight. All my enemies I killed slow. I would shoot right and left. Big shot men met their death. But this year, when the season came, I had planned to leave the game. Well, as man, I hung up my guns. I had planned. My career was done. Goodbye, fans. Chalky will teach the younger ones. But when Mr. Fool was stopped for charges led by a cop, and she get away, I said, yeah. And when the border tell Ivan Williams to go, I get sail, and I put on the guns again. I told Superior 75 would be my last year. I'm going to further my history studies. 4 crowds now, 1 tempo, and I can't sing fast so before. The crowd put me down, let me leave the people down. So as I hang up my guns from this land. I had planned to run, but I found Chucky will be in Washington. But courthouse changed my fate, for under clause 68, big boys are charged and then discharged. And when 610 radio tell the dog brother to go Jimmy Main, I put on the guns again.
1976 was the year, and interestingly, in 76, Chalk does also stop eating meat. So I don't know if that will make him win the Monarch. And interestingly, I was born in 76, so the first Monarch by Chalk does the last road march by Kitchener. 76 was the year. So who didn't know now, you know, right? Chalk Dust again defended his crown successfully in 77. And I'm making mention of defending crown successfully because when you look at the trends going through the years, only few Calypsonians were able to successfully defend the crown. Now, we would have seen so far, and when we look back and as we go forward too, we would see Sparrow winning his seventh crown in 74, and he didn't compete again until in the 90s. And 70, so therefore 76 was the beginning at that time of a changing of the guards. All right, so this is where one of the new guards to come in town would have been Chokdas, who, as we know, up to now, still battling anything. Um, so let go right, 76, 77 was also Chokdas with two selections, The Way of Protest and Shango Vision. Of course, also in 76, there was a name change of the competition, moving it from the Calypso King to the Calypso Monarch. And that was because ladies were knocking, right? Ladies were knocking at the door, showing the potential that one of these days that a lady could, so they changed it to Calypso Monarch in 76. So officially, Chogdas could argue that he was the first Calypso Monarch, you know, if we just play with a little bit of semantics. But in 1978, as we go on, so 76, 77 was Chogdas. In 78, the first woman to rise to the top or to that glorious title, Calypso Rose MacArthur Lewis, with one entitled, one of her songs, I Thank Thee and Her Majesty. Let me take in a little rose.
Which foreigners don't know. I passed through depression and starvation to be where I am in my profession. So today, though, I am thankful to you. I wouldn't be ungrateful. I say thanks, thanks, thanks. I thank my mother, my school teacher, my neighbor, my brother, and my sister. So you see, Tobago, I thank thee. Recognized anywhere you go. I am sure you'll be more than glad to know that the mother of Tobago is Trinidad. I thank Trinidad for his protection to 1970 revolution. I say thanks, thanks, thanks. I thank Trinidad for my education, making me Tobago most recognized woman. So you see, Trinidad, I thank thee.
So 1978, Calypso Rose won her first Calypso Monarch title. Of course, that time she also making her mark with jumping out with the road march too. So we keeping it going and we coming down the years. And I remember told you in terms of the changing of the guards. So we see from after Sparrow exited 74, you would have the changing of the guards. So you would have the coming in Chokdas. Even 75 when Kitchener won, that was his first title. Chokdas winning, and now Calypso Rose. And then by 79, another one of the new guards would join in, and this is Black Stalin. Black Stalin of course, giving us two classics in 1979, The Caribbean Man and Play One. Here's play one, a tribute to Winston Spree Simon and to all the pan men too, yeah?
Come a little closer with your pan, let we have a full conversation. Mr. Pan is playing some solo, but somehow playing long time hero. The city vultures wouldn't remember, then it's we who should get together. And praise the artists of first day, who bring we culture here today. So come on and play one for Winston Spree. And play some in melody. A melody to bring back memories of all the beautiful things Winston did for me. Man, don't feel that a dread. I ain't come out to push no dirty shed. And people here in the country who don't care what blasting thing about we. Once we make food for the carnival, but if we make bread for the festival. When you hear is Ash Wednesday morning, they don't care how we are surviving. So come on and play. Go on for Lord Maestro. And play my way solo. With melody to bring back memories of all the beautiful things that we did for you.
Home music boy. So 1979, given us the end of that decade, a decade of Monarchs that we saw what I would want to call the changing of the guards, the changing from that era, from the dominance of Duke into the return of Sparrow, the exit of Sparrow, and the emergence of the new guards. Chobdas, we see Calypso Rose doing her stuff, and now the beginning of Black Stalin. Now, so far, as I tell you all, this is not no lecture session. This is kind of thing in between. We notice any trends, any kind of trends emerging in the type of songs that would have been victorious or what would have been crowned as the monarch. Anybody? Anybody here? Remember when you're teaching them children, you just ask them, you understand? And everybody quiet. Good evening, Dr. Francis. I'm glad you could join us. Dr. Witty.
Yes, sir. I noticed that we moved away from a little humor and started getting into more social commentary around the time of Stalin and just before Stalin there, because after the Duke was the more bacchanal calypso, and and now I see we getting into the social commentary type of thing, which is what wins up to today.
Right. It's interesting that you should mention that. And it's because that's one of the observations, the type of topics, but at the same time, if you look at Kitchener, even had the tribute to Spree, the play one, Calypso Rose with I Tang D. You also had like a sense of recognition. Even the Sparrow, same time, same place, was a reflection of society.
Right.
Having manners, saying please and thank you, and things like that.
After Duke.
Yeah, so that would have been after Duke, you would have that emergence of those, as you correctly said, the social commentary type calypsos. By 1980, we saw, and if we should continue, we saw another Calypso monarch jumping out his first time, and this would be Willard Harris, the relator, with two selections, the ever popular Food Prices and one entitled Take a Rest, Mr. Prime Minister. Right? I don't think Relator went down in good favor for the Take a Rest. But again, let's take a little listen at the Take a Rest. Wrong Take a Rest. Wrong Take a Rest.
No light, no telephone, and no water. We in the middle of a big power failure. I'm sorry, but the breakdown is governmental, and it's because of fatigue, physical and mental. It's useless that we continue to blame a horse that is tired and almost lame. If government can't cope nowadays, the nation could send them for holidays. Now this is not an overthrow. I am saying that we must kick them out just so. So please don't jump to any hasty conclusion and cause any confusion. But they exhausted from working too long. So before they suffer from a nervous breakdown, as a loving nation, we all could now suggest that Dr. William and the PNM take a rest. Since Dr. William took over the nation, I can recall he went on vacation. In the last decade, I've heard him repeat that he's willing to take a back seat. So read between the lines, friends, and understand that these are the words of a tired man. So the next sober thing left to do is for the nation to say a hearty thank you. So you see, this is not an overthrow. But if they're tired, I don't see why they can't go. And all who feel that I am anti-PNM, well, I got some news for them. You see, all of them who don't want him to go, they get accustomed to the free Kokioko. But I suggested a nice rest now for the doc before this poor man dropped off on the walk.
The Calypsonian, in the sense that Relator sang that in 1980, and we all know what went on by 1981, right? So, the doc maybe didn't, I think this was maybe the beginning of when, I mean, politicians, Calypsonian has always been talking to the politicians, but this is one of the Calypsos that should the doc had taken the advice, well, we know what happened, right? Hami, how you going? I see you all set up and you're good.
Yeah, inside.
All right, good. Yeah. Nice. Good evening, Marsha, and welcome. I'm glad that you could join again, as per usual. So, we coming down with Monarchs, we reached 1980. 1981, we saw Chokdas winning his third crown with 2 selections entitled Things That Worry Me and I Can't Make. Again, that the country, Chokdas would have been one who given those chronological type calypsos to document what's going on. So when you listen to some of the calypsos coming down, you will be able to tell, and even with that Relator, you could get a sense. When you listen to the opening line, you could tell there's a sense of turmoil. People were clamoring for water, people having phone problems, and you know, these well, the Calypsonians were the voice of the people at the time, so they started jumping out. 81 was us. 1982 again saw the emergence of a fresh young blood as the monarch. This is where the Grandy man came in town. Scrunter emerged as the Calypso Monarch in 1981. Sorry, in 1982. With two selections, the Will and a Likiting. Here's a little taste of the Will, as we know.
I just get the will from a kitchen. All you know the man, he is still a whole bag of soca. This is strong boy, I'm getting old. I leaving you to control. If you follow my instruction, will be more than in tongue when you next come back down. You go make them tumble down. In the heart of drum, you go make them go break. Let it rock and sway. I tell you when the farm men are done, but running you to all the drum. Plenty woman will walk the husband in town.
One of the popular calypsos / soca at the time. I mean, up to now, you could bust that tune in a little back in time dance, and people go sway to it. Of course, the steel band did also take a selection like this, and you know, this is one of the pan party favorites. If you should hear a band, should get you the Will. So we saw the emergence of Scrunter giving us his first and only Calypso Monarch. Then by 1983, Tobago Crusoe, who was once referred to as Crusoe Kid, he jumped out, and he was the Calypso Monarch of 1983 with two selections, Don't Cry Now and South Africa. Again, selections reflecting not just local, that would have been the era of apartheid and all that. So here's the Don't Cry by Tobago Crusoe.
This worldwide recession and world economy causing concern internationally. A worldwide recession worse than in the 30s. Reason for alarm by authorities. Poorer countries catching their tails to keep their head over water. Richer countries don't want to fail, but they can't make it no better. Rainy days are here at last, things begin to get hard. What is the position in Trinidad? We have oil in a quantity, plenty money. We even have a high standard of living also. The way things were really going well, I myself was even saying this is the land where milk and honey flow. Citizens exposed to millions, government playing with billions, more cash in the place than the law allows. Well, now that rainy days are here, I don't see why we didn't prepare Trinidad have a right to be balling now.
And because this song's still applicable, We go take in a second verse. Remember this song was 1983, eh?
The whole place in a country, we get rich so suddenly. Nobody don't want to work hard again. We send for some workers from them foreign countries. When you're in way off, everybody start to complain. Farmers from them and from the land, no agriculture, no farming. They get the money from special works that pay them for doing nothing. The whole place become a big welfare, more pay but no production. We didn't know that the oil money would have done. We spent millions on food alone. When we could have grown, we own, but we have cash to spend white man when we all can buy. Jet planes to Miami, spending sprees to New York City, and the importing just rocket to the sky. Electronic games and video, morality went on solo. The big apple reached Trinidad somehow. Well, now that the table turn and it seems as though the money got done, Trinidad have no right to be balling now.
We have no right to be balling now. 1983, Othniel Bacchus is the gentleman's name. Tobago Crusoe giving us that selection. Don't Cry. And another selection he sang that night, South Africa. Now, what is interesting that I found from my research, and I could stand corrected by some of the people who would have been around and know a little better. Tobago Crusoe would be, from my research, the only Calypsonian who did not defend his title. So in 1984, he didn't go back up. So it's like I come, I sing in 83, I win the thing, and thanks. Monarch now, I reach where I'm going kind of thing. You know? So he was one of the, or to date, he was the only one to not defend his title. Again, as we continue, by 1984, we see that social commentary along the line of commenting on the living conditions of the people. Penguin emerged as champion in 84 with We Living in Jail and Soft Man. I kind of hint a little chicken tongue, a little humor, and poking fun at some people. So I guess this is the time when you start to see men used to be singing a serious song and then a lighter song. We all familiar with Penguin Soft Man.
Responsible and defensive. A man who lays down his skill. A man who could stand up firm. Woman the right, woman the right, woman the right.
So I don't know what was the motivation for that song, but it's a song that the woman up to now would remain singing. Penguin coming out as the champion there in 1984. Then by 1985, winning his second title, we would have had the black man, Leroy Callis, Black Stallion, doing Wait Dorothy Wait and Ism Schism.
Biggest lesson. I learned from them, I am sorry. But I don't know the lessons when they can teach me. They teach me. Chemical force along communism. Everything for all and them all. I'm from the kind of team up with them. Like when they was raised on the roads in them. My friend. To see with nothing is on. All the things of this confusion. You must have a nuclear weapon. Just to hold on to your lesson. One thing to the back, getting at the boat. One thing to go to the back and control. Saving all the hands and I'm over me. I'm selling the weed for the enemy. Got to stay away from them, it's on. From the time you leave with one of them is up. The first thing you're talking about is protection. The chance of people full your treasury. You got to maintain an inflation army. And too much pressure from the opposition. They could always bring you a whole battalion. And when you get it, them say some out the way. How much life it costs you will never say. No way. Not to stay away from them is all. All that means is confusion. You must have a nuclear weapon. Just to hold on to your rhythm.
So that was a little taste from the Black Stallion. 1985, that was his second title. Of course, remember, we saw the emergence of the new guards. Black Stallion starting to prove himself worthy to be called then the new guard. Then by 1986, David Rudder came and interfered with everybody that year.
This girl from Bahia, staying in Maruga. This lady real lucky, she bunks up with sweet me. As a man with a plan, well I really didn't waste no time. I make up my mind tonight, this Brazilian is mine. As the music played, Lord, she started to sing to the soca beat. She put a samba swing, ding 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 ding. Bim 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 baby mama, diggy bam bam, diggy bim 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 baby mama, bim bam bim no be in the cabin, bim 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 baby, bim 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 baby, bim 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 baby mama, diggy bam baby, diggy bam baby, bim bim baby mama, diggy bam baby, diggy bam, bim 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 baby mama, diggy bam no be, bim 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 baby. Then she started tremble. She give me goose pimple. Soca in she samba, samba in she soca. I just take off my shirt for so show she in Trini France. The woman just put on a smile as she dance, she samba dance. She had me in heaven, she had your boy in hell. What that woman do to me, I just couldn't tell. All I know is she ring me bell with this. Bim 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 baby mama, diggy diggy bim baby, diggy bam. Bim 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 baby mama, bim 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 baby, bim 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 baby, bim 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 baby, bim 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 baby mama, bim bim
of course, in our last program, we saw and we discussed this Bahia Gale a little bit and the influence of that chant, the Baptist influence. But Bahia Gale and the Hammer in 1986, again, the Hammer, another song in tribute, and Bahia Gale, a commentary on an experience, a party experience, if you want to call it that. What was interesting to note at this point, all the years before, or how many years was it? 20 years, 56, 86, 30 years before, PNM was in government. 1986, the government changed. All right? So let's see if by, and I'm making that point here because I think we should start to see we will see a change in the you will see a change in some of the topics as we go forward from here. Again, Anna Robinson was now the Prime Minister, but in 1987, by that time, people don't write songs, people didn't have to jump in and say what they had to say yet. So we see in 1987, Black Stallion once more emerged as the Calypso Monarchs with two selections, Mr. Panmaker, yet another tribute to Pan, and this is the second time we see him doing this, and with a worldwide commentary entitled "Burn Them" or "Burn Them," as we all familiar with these. By 1988, we see some of the emergence of some of the what we want to call it, the commentary, the political commentaries starting to emerge. And 1988, in fact, Crow would have emerged the Calypso Monarch with two selections, one entitled Three Borats and Corruption in Common Entrance. Let's see if we can take in a little bit of the corruption in Common Entrance.
Corruption in Common Entrance. Me a thinking fine, me a trying to protect my child, but corruption is a constant annoyance. Going on too long in common entrance. You don't have to be intelligent, that is a lie. Your father must pull a good string with complexion high. Your child could be bright like a ball man from Laventille. Forget holy names, convent and bishops and speak. Because they have to pick Lila and they Umudu, Krishna Maharaj. Because Arjun and Saj, father have to pick a Raj. Chaiti Bisuni Moli and poor money. The brother, sister, son and Narwani. Hadid Montano, Sagan, Abraham. They pick so much picture, children they get shame. When they pull them pictures, full right up to the neck. They send all them poor to the junior stage. Don't do the high, in the la 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 la. Don't be high, la one entrance the last. Arriving on Independence Square, a woman shopping back fall down on the pavement. I see uniform clothes for Holy Names Convent. I say, woman, how you show your child pass for a school? She say she connection school and she ain't no fool. She say she husband on the staff and she start to laugh. She say, come on inside, old ministry is mad. She say they have the big chin fat, one song and them half white. The parents know where they're going long before they right. And if your name is Cornel, you pass with ease. More than Cornelius for Fatima and St. Mary's. You must be politically active and have your party card to get in big shot school here in Trinidad. You ain't get the Jagis a royal salute by check. I tell you buy uniform for the junior sir. Oh my high class in the class. La 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 la. Oh my high class in the class.
All right, so that was Crocro, a little piece of Crocro. As you would have seen that something on YouTube, so you could always find that and take in the song in its entirety on YouTube. But that would have been the beginning of that era with that Crocro jump out and emerged as one of the new pillars. So once again, we see, if you should call it, another change in the guards. Now, by 1988, interesting from the research that I do between 1988 and 1992, and we will see it coming up. Crocro, interestingly, was in the top 2 in the Monarch for those years. So 88, 89, 90, 91, and 92. 2, 3, 4, 5. So for that 5-year period, Crocro found himself in the top 2 for those 5 years ahead then, right? 1989, bringing us to the end of yet another decade, we would have seen Chalk Dust coming and emerging as the champion, winning his 4th title with Carnival Is the Answer and Chauffeur Wanted. We're taking in a little piece of Chauffeur Wanted.
You asking me what is wrong with Trinidad? You can't understand why things go on so bad. You find we so rich in human resources, and yet the country going to pieces. Well, let me tell you, my friend, where we went wrong. After Eric Williams' old car breakdown, we called in an AR, we ordered an ex-con and installed a new driver. With 33 passengers from the party, we gave him a maxi taxi, fitted with my reinstated computer, air conditioning cylinder. With much new fittings, this maxi car arrived. Then it started to swerve and nosedive. It took a year for passengers to realize. They say the new driver cannot drive. passenger. Ran up and they Humphrey and Sudama. They wouldn't let the poor driver drive in peace. They distracting him and wouldn't cease. While he driving, they hitting him some big cloud. So he stopped the maxi and put them out. And to discuss their fate, they went to drink us straight by a club called 88. The driver called his street mouth friend Flash Gordon to give him some driving lessons. Flash appointed himself as the conductor, pushing around them passenger. Meanwhile, the car running about helter skelter. Pedestrians started to scatter. Ellis Clark had to jump and run to stay alive. He said, the new driver cannot drive.
Again, serious political commentary in the style of Chobdas, giving him his fourth title, bringing us to 1989, the end of a second decade. And again, this is where I'm going to jump in and ask the question: we notice any patterns or any changes or any trends? Well, this is your chance, folks, to jump in and you could say your piece. Or if it is that I should just keep going, say keep going and I'm going. So, all right, that take that silence as being keep going, right? So that was 1989. We reached from 70, we reached 89, we would have seen a change of government. We would have seen social issues developing, we would see worldwide issues developing, and the Calypsonians, of course, by all means, expressing that in song. We saw in 88, Procro jumped out, and as I told you, in 88 to 92, he would have been in the top two. So always at the edge, always looking close, knocking close by. So Chobdas came in 89. But in 1990, once again, it was Procro's turn as he emerged with two selections, Political Dictionary and Party. So we're going to take in a little bit of the Political Dictionary by Procro.
bring a fairy godmother. Some say a new administrator. A man went so far to say we need a new prime minister. But we are blaming Robbie entirely. Remember, he left an empty treasury. That's why I went into my monastery and compiled this new dictionary. You see, the study is for if I had a gun, had a run and shoot down racialism. It is quite easy. It is for too much hate in these parties. I is for petty indifferences. J is for jackass, smart in places. K is for killing me mentally. L is for days. Sorry. Hurry, hurry. Get your coffee. For your new
So that was 1990 Procure Political Dictionary and Party. What was quite interesting to hear him say in one of his lines there is that G is for gun. If he had one, he would have been able to shoot down certain things. And of course, as we know, 1990 was the year of the coup. So is it that Procure had an idea what was going on, or he was just, or the whole country was just at that state of mind that we should be picking up arms? You know, sometimes when we look back retroactively, we see or we hear these lines in Calypso, and you just have to really wonder. Again, Crocro knocking at the door. That was 1990. In 1991, we would see again Black Stalin now coming to win his fourth title with 2 selections. Look on the brighter side, and the black man feeling the party. Let's see if we could look at the brighter side, taking a little taste from Stalin as we continue. The list feeling long, but we continue. This would have been 1991.
Times may be rough, life may be tough, but we must keep going. We feeling the pain, yes we keep holding straight, but we must keep fighting. Regardless of how it comes, we just can't surrender. We gotta keep working towards a better future. We may never be always young, and fighting to stay off the ground. We must remember all day will come. While we appreciate the little life got to give, regardless what's the hope, we must think positive. Look on the brighter side, look on the brighter side, because I see a silver lining behind the great cloud we're passing. Look on the bright side, look on the bright side, for the bright side is where we going.
All right, so Stalin giving us a sense of motivation. Things will be all right. Things will be okay. Having won his fourth title in 1991. Then by 1992, we saw the re-emergence of the mighty Sparrow. After taking his hiatus since 1974.
La, la, la.
From the beginning of time, reaching out to the sublime in a cold and hostile world. We have struggled to exist in this earthly wilderness, seeking and losing goal. Many times it seems that we are fighting a hopeless cause, implying extinction is our lot. Because we were constantly ravaged by scourges and wars. We try to quarrel and complain, but in the ending of believe it or not, we will survive. No matter what the odds, man will survive. Inspired by our gods. It's a hard road we travel, but to triumph we shall. We will toil, we will struggle, cause at the end of the day, whether you're big or small, Peter helping Paul, to the master call, we fight for survival.
The name of that selection, Survival. The name of that selection, Survival, Mighty Sparrow. And I guess Sparrow used to only jump back out. I don't know if it would be fair to say when he felt that he had competition, or when I guess when he noticed things going in a particular way. And of course, in the years before, we would have seen the domination of Crow, Chalk Dust, Stalin coming down into the latter part of the 80s. So by 92, Sparrow jumped out. 93, Chalk Dust again emerged as the Calypso Monarch with two selections, Misconception and Kaiso in the hospital. 94 saw, or even before I go on to 94, and on the tails of Mighty Sparrow. From doing the research, a question was asked to me, was the lowest Sparrow ever come? Anybody here willing to make a guess, was the lowest Sparrow ever come in a competition in the Calypso Monarch? Just for the fun of it. Anybody care to make a guess? Put on your microphone and make a guess.
Third.
You will say third?
Yeah, he would tie with Kitchener.
Right. Anybody begging to disagree? I mean, if Hamidullah says so, say Hamidullah is the new Sparrow in Dungan. If he says so, it's so.
No,
what is the question? What is the question?
The question is, what's the lowest you think Sparrow would have come in all his years competing in the Calypso Monarch competition?
Well, the lowest he ever come, he didn't make the semi-final in 1995. He and Gypsy, so I can tell you that. In 1995, he and Gypsy did not make the semi-final.
Oh, okay. So I should rephrase the question. How much you ever, the lowest you ever?
Just 95, he say. Who won in 95?
95 was Black Stalin.
Actually, that is not true. Sparrow was third in 95.
No, Sparrow did not make it in 95.
In 95, Sparrow was third. He sang Democracy in Haiti, and This Is Madness.
That would have been 93.
That's 95. In 93, Sparrow sang. In 93, Sparrow, you mean 93 he wasn't there. He was not there in 93. He was not
93
in the finals in
93.
93
he was not in the finals in 93.
93 he defended with Try Again.
Oh, yeah. He was second in 93.
Right.
He was second in 93. And he sang Try Again. And the more the merrier. In 95,
right?
But 95 he was
third.
Yeah.
He was third. and he sang Democracy in Haiti, and This Is Madness.
Well, I have to get,
So
I
he
have
was
to
third
get that,
twice.
I have to get
Listen,
that article.
all the years to compete, he has always gone past the preliminary round. And
No, I
access to
could
the
bet you,
competition,
I could bet you that, I could bet you that he did not make the semi-final that
But
year.
I can put money
all
that
the years
in
compete, he has
Is either,
always
if I am wrong, it could be 95 or 96, but it's one of those years. He and
he was there
I
in
read
95.
I read an article just a day or two ago, and then I was shocked at that. I read
but
that
you don't
album.
read to it because somebody reads misinformation.
Exactly.
I doubt his misinformation. I'm going to get the article. I'm going to post it up right now for you all to see. But so
I'm saying
was
to my
not there in
friend,
96.
while we all rely on reading,
not there in
there was a lot of
96.
misinformation out there.
Now, for the record, and I'll make my draw for a book there one time, you know, and clearly, and I'm not too sure who is that LML212. I am make out the voice.
Which one? This voice?
Yeah, this voice.
This is John Barry, the author of the finalists.
Oh, okay. Well, good to have you.
And I can tell you that if you get a copy of my book, there will be no argument.
But Barry played right now.
Well, right. So 95, in fact, yeah. Sparrow did come third in 1995, and the answer to the question that I was asking is in fact third. So Hamidullah, you were correct. So there were 2 years that he came third, 95 and back in the 70s.
And I say further, all the years that Sparrow entered the competition, he has always gone past the preliminary round. And most of the time he was absent was out of protest. He protested from out of protest. In 56, when he won the Monarch, he protested that the JC's Carnival Queen was getting a car and he thought he should get more than that. At the height of his career, at the age of 21, he refused to enter the competition. And for years, he went on like that, as a one-man riot against the establishment. You there?
Good. But again, it's good to know that we could debate some of these things, and I'm curious to see or hear, and Dwayne, I guess, will bring facts. I should be able to adjust the settings here. That
Marcus, what I'm glad for respect, like Dwayne O'Connor there.
Yeah.
I'm glad that people like Dwayne doing some research, right or wrong as it may be, are happy to know that. You understand? But I'm saying to Dwayne, take your time, all the way reading, but there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Lot of misinformation. And when it appears in the newspaper, people take it for granted.
Yeah.
Right. All right. And again, Mr. Barry, it's good to know that you're inside. I don't know how or where to send you, but thanks for coming. I don't know who sent you, but thanks for coming.
So it was in fact 1994. It was 1994. I'm going to post it up right now, the newspaper article, because I must say I actually did read it a couple of days ago, so I'm trying to post it right now.
If you're not getting to post it here, just WhatsApp it to me quick, and I'll be able to share it on your behalf. Right? And we're going down the road. I'm glad I'll give my throat a little rest. I like that piece of debate we went on there. But at least out of the thing, we know for sure, we could argue and say that we check it, we double check it, and we know for sure what's going on. And that's the purpose of this evening session inside the once we talk in Calypso. All right, so
let me ask Dwayne, 94, the year when he cussed? The year when he cussed was 94? Because remember, he take it from Duke in was 69. He won in 71, 72, 73.
I mean, that was 74.
Yeah.
That was 74.
Yeah.
When he tell people how, you know,
Right. That was 74.
74, 70. No. The year that Kitchener won was 75. That was
75, yeah.
Sparrow decided in 75 that he would not perform, but people
Yeah.
believe that it was because of that whole thing with him touching the audience. So he won 72, 73, and 74. And there was a chance for him to win and equal Duke's 4 consecutive wins in 75. And he opted out in 1975.
Right. You're right.
Now, Dwayne send me proof, and let me see what at least he sent proof to why he say what he say.
I respect that.
It doesn't have who is the author of this article, but it does say
1994.
1994.
Who won in 94?
94 was the tie between Delamo and Luther. Right, so again, the history books, may it be The Woman in Calypso by Rudy Utley, or The Finalist by Mr. Barry, John Barry. But 94, we really would not have seen any appearance, well, at least in the, and that's one of the challenges about how we document the history. I was trying to take piece of the conversation for later down. But, you know, most of the time we just look at the winners, you know. But this is an interesting piece. Thanks, Dwayne, for bringing this forward here. I think everybody had a chance to see.
Yeah, but I ain't going with that. I am not going with that. If they have no author, nobody substantiate they do that, I ain't going with that. Because for Sparrow to be out, that would have been big news, Beth. Big news.
Well,
I would have missed that. I said it, I would have missed that. But much respect, still Dwayne, much respect. No worry.
Yeah, man.
So, well, maybe you didn't miss it, Tommy.
Nah, I ain't missing that. I'm telling you that.
So, right, we in 94 itself. 94, according to the article we have, Sparrow didn't make it to the finals or to the semis, neither did Gypsy. We have it that he didn't sing with the Kiskadee Caravan according to the article. But Sparrow wasn't anything, and of course that would have been in 92 when we looked at it, that would have been Sparrow's 8th and final Calypso Monarch to date. And I just say it to date because you could never know what will happen. And
no.
You could never say never. Next thing, Sparrow.
No. Sparrow days is done for that. Let me be real. I speak to Sparrow twice a week, and Sparrow days is really done for that.
All right, good.
Right? We got to give him his props.
I think I agree with you, Dwayne.
Dwayne, was it 2 songs you sing that year?
Yeah.
Was that Sparrow 2 songs that year, 94?
Oh God, I had to go and search now.
All right. Okay. I am saying once Buddy compete, from what I know, he has always gone party for them wrong. If he didn't go in 94, he didn't sing.
He didn't make it. And I would tell you something, I would tell you something. And it's not now that I have sat down with Calypso judges before now. And they have told me so much of stories that, you know, that people who sit down on the judging panel, I'm asking you, I'm telling you, people who sit on the judging panel from the time Sparrow come out to perform, Sparrow could be singing what? They turn to each other on the judging panel and they say, according to one who told me this, and I'm speaking from the horse's mouth, and he said that he turned to the other man, he said, but, what you writing? What you writing? We're writing for? That is it.
Did I respect that? I know that for a fact too. In fact, Sparrow was so big that Calypso judging was structured on Sparrow's performance. I could tell you that. If Sparrow so is so, that's how it used to be.
Well, you know that is how he managed to get my boy, the Kelvin Pope, the Mighty Duke, from making 5.
Yeah.
You know that.
Let me get one further than this. Sorry to do that. But there was a night when Birdie was singing. He was high like a kite, inaudible. And a certain judge had him as number 1 to win. Everybody had this Sparrow win. He alone Sparrow win.
But it happened even in the recent, the last competition Sparrow actually took part in, which was the Independence competition some years ago.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I was there.
Food for thought, mouth open, story jump out.
Let me get back to the thing.
That's when we reached 1994. 1994, we saw the first and the only tie in Calypso between the Lamo and Luther. I'm skipping ahead a couple because, you know, looking at time, 95 would have been in time and tribute to Sundar Popo, giving Black Stalin his 5th.
Marcus, let me interrupt you again.
Sure.
To support what Dwayne said, with respect to the interference in the judging. 1994, Luther was left out of the finals. They normally was carrying 8 singers, 10 singers. And in that year, they take 9 and leave Luther. And it raised questions, and the protest went up. And they brought Luther in as the 10th, and he tied for first place. The extent of interference by the judges.
So why they brought him in?
Well, because after because you consistently count on with 10, was supposed to pick 10. Meet by Luther, you pick 9. And Luther was 10. That came out in the evidence.
We taking that topic on next night.
But you know, Hamidullah and I, we were on. If I may, Mr. Chairman, Hamidullah and I. Hamidullah and I, we were on the adjudication review committee, and in reviewing judges, because we made a lot of recommendations. Myself, Hamidullah, Dilamo. I think it was Brother Jay, Twiggy, and we made some serious recommendations because we went through the judging system of not the judging system, but the judges' remarks and everything from preliminaries to semi-final and final, and we made certain recommendations to the organization, TUCO, and of course they didn't take it up. Right? Instead they removed myself and Dilamo. I don't know who else they removed. And replaced us because they probably found we were digging up too much, right? But I just want to say we looked at certain judges' scores, and one judge even mentioned to singing Francine and Tigris in the comments. Welcome back, welcome back. Yes. And big comments and big marks, So that is why I myself had to take the organization and the judges to task, because the judges do things to put the organization into disrepute. I leave it to go ahead, Marcus, we got time.
As we continue, and Dwayne, I will definitely let you know, one of these nights, I do plan to take up that topic. And we're going to just openly discuss adjudicating. And I would love that night to have Calypsonians and people on board so people could share their experience, their comments, and even like, you know, comments as you mentioned there. So I will have a special night for that. And
that's a serious kind of worms, partner.
yeah. And again, I'm not doing it on behalf of an organization. Neither am I doing it targeting the governing body. But for us to examine, and to be quite honest, it's a topic or an area that I considered, should I choose to go on to do my PhD? Right? It's one of the areas that I'm considering to do some research in.
But we wouldn't want to encourage, we wouldn't want to encourage bashing at the judges, but clearly we want to send a signal that people could be more responsible. That's all we want to do.
Right. So one of the things that, and I can comfortably say it now, is that I plan to upkeep this not only just for the Calypso History Month, but out of the season. I may edit or change up time of the program a little bit. I may interfere with the duration of the program, but you know, if we could consistently have these kind of discussion, as even Hamidullah, you would say that since you came on board the first time, you've been here right through. So you would have been here in the different discussions over the nights. And one of the things is that this idea is an idea I want to keep and be able to consistently do. So who knows, this might be the voice. You know, this is the place where people go in and talk so just now. All right, and that's my ambition, if I should say so. You know? So we continue. In 94 was the tie. 95, Black Stallion in Time and Tribute to Sundar Koko. 96, of course, we would have seen Patrick Manning as the Prime Minister between 92 and 95. Right? Patrick Manning would have been the Prime Minister then. And 96, by 96, Koko would have hit you. One of his selections, only look for that. His second selection, They Can't Stop Social Commentary.
November 7th, does the black man cry? The blood still running from black people's eye. But I remember when a song rise, African rise. And I beg black man, please open your eyes. While I was singing and busting me liver string, black man asking me where Atlantic lay. Then they put their fucking finger on the shelf. So today, black man, you must play yourself. But when I sing, they never listen to it. Coco say, black man mentality on Spectrum and PSA. The lyrics I sing, they wouldn't listen to me. Black man telling black man, oh, black man, come up to party. I remember when I sing Sham, we don't want it. They said black brother said, Coco, you sing shit. So they said, through my fault, my just strike your heart. Black man, all you look for that. I wonder why black man always want that kickstart. Black man, all you look for that.
By 1997, Calypso Monarch, Winston Peters, Gypsy with 2 selections, Rhythm of a People, and Little Black Boy. We just take a little quick taste and we will be running along.
There was a little black boy
black boy was he. The boy went to school and he come out on sea. Never learned how to read, he never learned about math. Never learned how to write, he never studied about that. All he studied was his speakers, his sneakers and clothes. He learned how to dress and he learned how to pose. He can't get no work, he can't get no job. He decide to steal and he decide to rob. But little black boy couldn't last long at all. The police put a bullet through his head's skull. Little black boy, go to school and learn. Little black boy, show some concern. Little black boy, education is the key to get you off the street and off poverty. Little black boy, go to school and learn. Little black boy, show some concern. Little black boy, education is the key to get you off the street and all poverty.
So that would have been in 97, Gypsy being our first time winner of the Monarch. And for the next 5 years, in fact, we would have had the Calypso Monarchs all winning for the first time. So 97 would have been Gypsy, 98, Mystic Prowler. Selections, Vision of TNT in the year 2010, and Look Below the Surface.
Vision is bold. National unity finally take hold. Shepherd as Prime Minister, come along, my friend. Let we view Trinidad in the year 2010. Is plenty changes in the old scenario. Shop control Trinidad and Tobago. No more red house in Port of Spain. Is in the yellow with no prevail. And if you say amen when you pray, you could make a jail. Church communion is no bread and wine. It's all and Polari and you sign. With a chutney him rising and falling behind. Why? National unity. Shot with controlling it. National unity. Shot finally on top. National unity. Protest your sanity. National unity, somebody wake me up. We banish engine to choir, bring them down to stubble, and give the John Towers to Ali for selling double. Be we giving free passage to India and back, only for those who want family on the Patel Raza. He pulled down Kitchener from the Roxy area and put a statue with Pandey standing on Joe's the Madeira. The school feeding menu fix every day is a party punch, and it's curry, aloo and tea, breakfast for lunch. The national anthem now with chutney, Panorama News broadcast in Hindi, and the bomb newspaper on the syllabus in UP. Why? National unity, shall we controlling it? National unity, shall finally on top. Oh, national unity, go test your sanity. National unity, somebody wake me up.
All right, so 97, we saw Gypsy. 98, Mystic Prowler. 99 would have been Singing Sandra, who emerged as the, to capture her first Calypso Monarch title. Two selections, Voices from the Ghetto and Song for Healing. This is a Song for Healing.
Bush Garden. Blood and human sacrifice. Oh, yo. And from character to Cora, there are daily tales of horror. Rape and rampant torture, gruesome murders and manslaughter. I mean the whole rebellion, boy. I know that Peter will pay for Paul. Lord, the country against the wall. But before it falls, I chant it, oh, shanty, oh. Come on and knees and kneeling, oh, shanty, oh. Please hear my song of healing, oh, shanty, oh. A lamentation for me home, oh, we play, wala. To no lady was there, only the lady was to no lady was there.
Right, so that tool is on YouTube. So if at any time you could go and check out Singing Sandra with that song for Healing. Sandra took a good time to reach on stage at that performance. I have in my research here a little asterisk by this year 1999, because to me this was also one of the beginning of the changes, and I will mention it a little closer. And as we approach the 11 o'clock hour, you know, little bacchanal, let's keep people awake. So I will get already bacchanal just, but I think 99 was the beginning of another change, of course, bringing us to the end of another decade of Calypso. And again, if we look back at that decade from 1990 to 1999, any patterns we notice? I know you observing all the patterns.
Well, I tend to notice that there was a sort of nation building in between those songs, right? Sort of like they were singing more or less like, you know, things about Trinidad, you know, type of thing, to help uplift, to help bring forth better things in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know if you call it nation building, but I know social commentary / nation building was taking place in there. That's what I observed.
Nice one, thanks. One of the things too we have to bear in mind is that would have been just on the heels of Mr. Pandey's tenure as Prime Minister. So, you know, I mean, that change in government affected the type of songs we started hearing. As we continue, the year 2000 saw finally the emergence of Shadow, Winston Bailey, as the Calypso Monarch, with two selections, What Wrong With Me and Scratch My Back. You're just taking a taste of the Scratch My Back. Because it's a song to me I could always relate to.
When you're young, you're young. When you're old, you're old. When you're young, you're strong. When you're old, you're old. When you're young, you're frisky. Don't depend on anybody. As soon as the old is stepping, it's a different song you're singing. Scratch my back for me. Scratch my back for me. Rock my neck for me. Give me respect for me. I want some water. Give me some water. I want some water. Give me some water. Rock me neck for me. Come make me think for me. This is misery. Oh, let's have no remedy. No.
So Scratch My Back for me and then What Wrong With Me was Shadow's two selection that year. And again, I guess this would have been totally social songs, you know, no political interference, songs that anybody could have relate to, and Shadow jump out. So in an effort for time, we just going and fly through some of the rest. In this next decade, 2001, we saw Denise Plummer winning her first Calypso Monarch. And I say first, her only Calypso Monarch. Right? So Denise would have won in 2001 with Now Even and Heroes. Sugar Aloes would have won his first in 2002 with Contribution and Jubilation. Right, so we would have seen from 97 to 2002, all first time, so like every year for that 5-year period is as if, not 5, but 6-year period, it was almost anybody's monarch, right? And when I say anybody, you would have had a lot of newcomers, and we could identify that this too might have been one of those changing of the guard moments as they paraded to see who could have come out as the champion. By 2003, Singing Sandra came back as the Calypso Monarch, for whom the bell tolls an ancient rhythm. In 2004 and 2005, Chalk Dust, Trinidad in the Cemetery, and Fish Mongrel. And then when I vexed Rhyme and I in Tongue Too Long. Of course, this would have been the second time. This would have been the second time. This would have been the second time Chalk Dust would have won back-to-back. Right? Or this would be the second time he defended his monarch successfully. He did it once before in 76 and 77, to do it again in 2004, 2005. In 2006, Luther, Check the Foundation, and Calypso. And then by 2007, we saw the competition slip back into the one song. So nobody ain't got no Crow would have won his fourth, have some reason. He would have won his fourth title. No, with nobody ain't gonna know. Like I can remember that competition being held in the Gene Fair complex. There was a certain brother who inside this room, I can remember that year. That
was my first final paying tribute to the great Kelvin.
Real elegance. Also, that was your first finals.
Very, 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 very first final.
Right, I could distinctly remember being backstage that night, and I could see your performance with the lip and all that kind of thing.
I was real green them time. And Mr. Barry, it's a pleasure meeting you, being on the. I'm to mention this before the program is ended. It's a pleasure being with everybody, but Mr. Barry as well, and of course Dr. Witty, somebody that I look at. I come to the tent mostly every year and look back at some of these things as well. To take in Dr. Witty, it's something pleasurable for me.
Thank you, partner. Thank you very much.
So in 2008, we see Sugar Aloes with Reflections. Chalk Dust in 2009, My Heart and I. Kurt Allen in 2010, The Too Bright. Yeah, I could see the stage performance. Then in 2010, government change again. That was we're now into the era of the Kamla Binta Prasad Bissessa. And winning, Kurt Allen would have won his first crown. Karine Ashe in 2011 emerged as the Calypso Monarch, the 2 million monarch, singing 2 songs. This is when they brought back the 2 songs. Singing Careful What You Ask For and Uncle Jack. And then my good friend emerged as the Calypso Monarch in 2012.
Who's that? Sutural Elegance?
Mr. Sutural Elegance himself.
That's right. I must say, that's my second appearance at the final and my first appearance in the Savannah. First time singing on the Savannah stage in the Calypso Monarch final.
Also, all right, good. And how was that experience for you to know? I mean, I would remember judging you in 2011 for the North Zone competition, which you captured the title.
I could tell you, people just say that you just know you're going to win. There was nothing like that in my thoughts, because I know in every competition I go into, if you check it up to this day, my place in any competition is between 6 and 9. They always dropping me there. Right? So I was never even thought that I was going to win.
Marcus,
yeah, me too.
I'm glad you say that, because I had to share this with you. Dwayne, you finished?
No, I finished yet, but go on now.
Nah, because you what happening. Now that I know Marcus was a judge in the North Zone and the Young King. Oh God, Marcus, when I see Dwayne pull #1, I say then I will kill him. You know I couldn't catch him at all, Steven? That was Dwayne here. You know people he said, well, Marcus, your judge go die here.
But again, I could say, because Kaiser House tent, we had where the tent is actually located. Where presently every year for the past couple of years we went to Globe, but came back to the Savannah outside, right outside the Savannah there. I remember just before the Young Kings, a couple of days, Explainer getting out with me. So it's myself, Explainer, and a couple others there. We were outside Kaiser House tent, and Explainer saying, "Boy, you have a good chance of this monarch thing next week Sunday. You don't put yourself and go in that Young King, and look at the number you pull #1. If you go and you sing #1 and you place low, and that results show in the papers and things, and people see that, you know what can happen to you? They would mark you down." I tell myself, I say, I know to myself, Dwayne O'Connor, this is your second time in the final. These people going to give you any crown, no matter what. And I say, shit that, yes, I go in and sing in the Young Kings. If I win the Young Kings, if I come second in the Young Kings, I can turn whatever, because I know I just like to sing. I go and I sing in the Young Kings, #1, I bring in a little change the area. Anyway, I win the Young Kings, but the final night now, we are at the finals, and I finish singing. So after my second song, I come off the stage now. I did not know that second song at all, because I tell you, I always say, I got that song that same week before the final, and it's a different chorus. In every chorus is a different chorus, and I am telling the composer at the end of when I come off the stage, I see Larry walking, going, and I run in, Larry, oh God. Like I make a mistake. I thought I make a mistake. He said, "Nah, man, it's all over." You didn't see GB jump in the car, Christoph gone, that one gone. I said, I still in study, and I went back to my car, sitting down and thing, and they getting ready to call the results. A particular person from Tuco come to me and say, "Put back on your jacket now, God. Why you take off your jacket?" I say, "Because I'm feeling warm." "No, I put back on your jacket, and I put back on your jacket. I put back on the jacket. And they call in the results. When I see they reach 9 and they ain't call my name, I say, hey, like I come 8. When they reach 8 and they ain't come in, I say, hey, well, you're 7th doing, you come 7th. No 7th. I say, well, I definitely, I'm moving from 6. When I hear somebody else at 6, I say, nah, you're going upstairs a little, must be 5th. When they reach 5th, 4th, I say, hey. Like I in the top 3, like I was come 3rd. I said, because I know they ain't giving me, and Karina Shea was good. And when I had 3rd place, Karina Shea, I said, well, yes, definitely. All I heard was 2nd place. And all I hear was "Kerr," and I fainted right off the stage there. Because I something. No, I know I had a good performance and everything, but you know how the judges are. And my mother was sick. You laugh, Abdullah. You know? So, and the rest is history. Because, but you know, I feel it felt good that night, but it was only afterwards, you know, the moment I was still in shock. It was really, really a shock. You know, like when you watch the beauty pageants and thing, and you see people win Miss Universe and thing, and you really see, but it was really, really a shock. Because you know it was something that I've always wanted. It's a dream that I've always lived as a child, watching the stage at Carib Concord with Black Stallion and them prancing up and down. And I asked myself, will you ever be there? Will you ever get there? You know, and to achieve that, I think. Anyway, let me get back to the thing now. We go to 2020.
It's good to hear the story, and it's good to hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
That's what it does.
You know how Marcus and them is. You
Say that again. I did I judge this night, boy? Well, I may have judged this night, you know. I can't remember, like, and I can't remember. And I try, at least for me, how I don't remember is where I would have seen the performance, and if I didn't judge this night, I may have just been sitting close to the judge because the angle seeing you on stage doing. But I may have judged the March Grand night.
Mr. Director, you see tonight in the Savannah in the north of the grandstand, it's wet. Every weekday at 6, criminals getting licks, eh? The hunt is on. We don't hunt you down. Allen have the nation transfixed, exposing conmen and convicts. Hey, the hunt is on. We don't hunt you down. But some say they don't like the attitude, and he boastful and crude. Though he just get bandits to surrender. Others say they really believe he have something else up his sleeve. But I get kicked, so he directs the director. Hear the fella, do you have that clip where a stolen Mazda was found in a garage strip? So that now let the nation see. Do you have that clip where gunmen up in the east say they're well equipped? So that now let the nation see. He said, unbelievable. Director, come back to me. He said he's not loyal to nobody except the people of TNT. And what he had to say, he just say it blunt, real blunt. And this is no secret to us all. He does hint it openly. Allen on the hunt is gives what he wants. Yes, the salary and the Mercedes Benz to flaunt. It's what he wants. The boss man salary and the Mercedes Benz to flaunt. It's what he wants. Mr. Director, Parliament costs you on national TV, you know. Remember, it's just $60 you're working for, you know.
So that was Calypso Monarch 2012. And the beauty is that we get to share. Dwayne, you look like the man there in a certain clip, you know.
I repeat what you said.
I say
there was a breaking transmission.
You look like the man there in a certain clip, you know.
Yeah.
So as we continue, 2013, we saw the emergence of Pink Panther winning his first Monarch. Travel World and Crying in the Chapel. I remember where I was sitting for Crying in the Chapel. I didn't judge the finals. I judged semis. I judged Skinner Bagay. But Pink Panther came out as the winner that year. And then 2014, 2015, we would have seen Roderick Gordon, Chucky, captain title. Chucky would have been one of maybe 4 gentlemen that we would have mentioned in this era from 1970 to 2020 who would have successfully, well, I shouldn't say 4, but really, it would have been Duke, Sparrow, Chavdas doing it twice, and Chucky, who were able to successfully defend the Monarch. Then
you're forgetting
Alan?
in 1950 and 59, that is when oh gosh, Percy Obligton.
Yeah, well, I didn't go that far back, but yeah,
Striker.
Yeah, I didn't go all the way back there.
Okay, all right.
Just take it from 70, right? But yes, indeed, you're correct there. Then we would have seen in 2016 Devon Seal, and Respect God's Voice, Spirit of Carnival. Of course, that too was also the mark of the change in government once more. In 2017, it would have been Chavdas as he won his 9th Monarch title. 75 can go into 14. Elon Francis in 2018 with the song entitled Change. 2019, Ronaldo London, Imagination. And in 2020, returned that 2-song Monarch with Obia and Megan My Dear by Terry Lyles. Giving us 50 years of Calypso and all the Monarchs. Now, we have access to these songs. Some people have their personal libraries. YouTube will have a fair amount of these songs. But I want to note a little a pattern here. I noticed from 1999 saw the change. And if I should look at some of the trends, the patterns we would have seen over the years, we would have seen in the 90s, especially when the UNC would have been in government or coming out of the UNC time, you would have seen or heard Calypso's politically strong Calypsos. And then by the time the PNM came into power, the mode or the tone of the Calypsos would have changed a little bit. And then I don't know if 2020 in itself starting to lend another change in the sense that Terry came and gave us 2 what may seem to be humorous style Calypsos. So it begs the question if we now return into a pattern that we would have seen in the late 60s into the 70s. And this is what, as we climb up to the next 45 minutes, this is maybe one of the points I want to throw out at you all. The second piece of bacchanal, as Duke might have said, from 2011, would it be correct to say it was a songwriter's Monarch? Mr. Barry, respond one time. Right? Would it be fair to say that from 2011 you may have had and I'm glad Dwayne is here to answer or treat with that. And then the third thing I want to throw out at you all is if we were to restructure the Monarch as we know it now, seeing that we have a kind of break in the transmission, or we have a time in which to restructure and come back again with a new and improved Calypso Monarch. Would you support the idea that once you win the Monarch, that you can't enter anymore? The floor is open.
Are we going in order, or we can take anyone?
No, anyone.
I want to take the first one. I could go?
Yes,
go ahead.
So,
you're talking from the 60s. In that period, they're coming down. It didn't really have no UNC and PNM Calypsonian then, because we was coming after the colonial period. So we was very much more still fighting and representing ourselves based on the colonial structure. And when we move from that area and get into the PNM and UNC Calypsonian, the thing changed. So the politics you were hearing was based on more or less the party. Whereas before that, there would have been politics, but in a more general sense of trying to bring we together as local people.
Right, the focus would have been the British, the Trini versus British.
Yes. We would have been still trying to forge ourselves as a nation of people against the colonial masters. At the advent of the independence, now we find ourselves, and we have party politics now, we go into different camps. Who is UNC and who is PNM?
All right. Thanks kindly. Any of the other points? Anybody wish to
Well, when you look at how the Young Kings competition is run, where that system of win and out has been in place for a while and it works there, you have to ask a question though, with the state of Calypso now in terms of what happens to the Calypsonian outside of in fact, within the Calypso season, if I win and I can't go back in this big competition, which is still the centerpiece of Calypso, you know, and this whole thing about the tent dying, I wonder what will happen to those Calypsonians who maybe this is their only chance to, you know, to get this big stage. Well, I mean, Young Kings happens, but it's still, you still have that other option of going on the Grand Savannah stage for the National Monarchs. So it's a good question to ask.
And I will counter and stick in my answer or to your response in this way. One, we could have the King of Kings style competition again, where let the monarchs compete among themselves, maybe every 4 years or maybe, I don't know. I mean, I didn't really put that was just one of the immediate kind of thoughts that came to mind. And secondly, in one of our previous installments of this program, we spoke about the entertainment value as opposed to the competition in Calypso. And if it is that people don't have the opportunity to focus on competition, but you're coming now from an entertaining perspective, who knows, Calypsos may become more entertaining. Because if you don't have that element of so focused on competition, it's just a food for thought.
Good food for thought.
Good.
Marcus, just before you go, let me just come in there. Before you go, in the earlier period, you said that was Crusoe said never defended the crown after winning it?
Yeah.
But I have two other people besides Crusoe who did that. I just thought I want to remind you of that.
Who's that?
David Rudder and Sniper because of circumstances. I just thought I would remind you of that.
Don't forget Sparrow. Don't forget Sparrow, Hammy.
Yes, and Sparrow, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but from the records, when I checked, David would have competed in 97 and came second.
Oh yes, you're right. You're right. David defend. Yes, David defend. But yeah. Crusoe didn't defend, and Sniper didn't defend, and Sparrow didn't defend.
Right, because and that would have been in all Sparrow eras. We would have seen after he wins 72, 73, 74, 72, 73, 74. Well, he didn't come back again after that.
He didn't defend in 57 either.
Okay. All right.
That's just for the records now.
Yeah. I stand corrected because I was just looking at the records and just trying to observe or pull out little trends in itself.
And while I'm on my legs, according to parliamentarian, I'm taking the next one with the writers too.
Right.
There's always been ghostwriters in Calypso. But what you find happening now is more dominance now on the part of writers. But there has always been ghostwriters in Calypso. I go hush and listen now.
I understand that the criteria that Tuko had put forth before has changed. They no longer have criteria, right? It used to be social commentary, you call nation building, or political, with the three categories. When I tried to enter into competition, right? But now I understand they did away with all of that. So now, coming back to your point, where the entertainment value coming back into the Calypso, if you're no longer trying to win a crown with a political or social, or you could win a crown now with something humorous, like what Terry did, you know, right? So the entertainment value now could come back into Calypso, and it could be exported. Because normally before that, you have Calypsos that could only be enjoyed by Trinidadians back home, because that couldn't be outside. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't go overseas and sing about Trinidad, because you want to expand Calypso across the globe, but you can't sing a Trinidad song, Trinidad politics and that thing. So now you're singing something that universal. The entertainment value could go globally. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Right. Yeah.
But Witty, to respond to you there again, I want to dominate the talk, but I must say this. It's hardly likely that you would see a return of what you're talking about with respect to the entertainment value, if only because the structure at that time was out of the CAISO 10s. The CAISO 10 managers' emphasis used to be on having a program where the audience could come feel satisfied. So the Calypsonians in themselves had to design their work in such a way with the emphasis on the audience. Once Tuko or the government have an input in terms of how things going right now, you understand? The emphasis now will be on having that kind of what we call daba intellectualized kind of Calypso to make sure win the crown.
But that was happening with the category though.
Yeah.
Everybody trying to win a crown, so they go into the category, and the entertainment value kind of lost. Was lost.
Because you had academics like Marcus who get into the art form and talk about depth and language and that kind of thing.
And writing essays and writing big essays in rhyme.
You don't think that. You look for that.
I don't think that. I have no choice. I don't think it. I could pull a guitar and sing it.
Big time essays in rhyme, man. Writing thesis.
But Glenn, and I want to pull you out here this one as a monarch, and sometimes you hear people say as a former monarch, and I don't like to use that title, because once you're a monarch,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
I agree with him.
As a monarch, would you agree if the organization or if the rules should change, that once you won a crown that you disbarred from entering competition anymore? What's your take?
Well, my take on it, I think I'll have two. It's something that you'll have to really sit down and consider, right? But initially, one, I think it could help the competition, right? It will open up and give more space. But two, it takes away from the competition that oh gosh, that bite,
quality,
that bite, that quality, so it takes away to say what I had to beat Dwayne O'Connor next year, I had to beat Karina, Devons, I had to beat Chalk Dust. Because if I didn't sit down as a young man 26, 27 years ago watching the TV and say, oh God, I want to be like that. I want to be like Black Style. I want to,
right.
I want to be like these men. I would not have. I would have just sit down there and say, look, But I fight and I fight and I get the key, I get the instrument. I went and I sit down with Duke, I talk with Duke, I get it one way, I learn one way, and I continue moving from strength to strength. So I think, you know, to take away from it, to take away from the competition and just open it up.
Yeah.
You match up the quality of the competition.
I think so.
You know, but some other persons, you see, persons who have not, and then so therefore now you have to look at the other side of the coin. And the other side of the coin is that persons who have not really achieved that as yet, they feel a certain way towards people like myself and others. Because I could remember many years ago, right, when myself and when we couldn't make a finals, far less for a semi-final, and myself, Karinashi, and Devon Seal, we'd be having this conversation like, oh God, so why Sandra and Sugarlos and them don't give up, boy? Why do I Pink Panther? Because every year you're watching the stuff, the finals, and it's Sugarlos, Pink Panther, this one, that one. But you know what? Everything is a time, and they will fade. They look. You could say they are phased out, and it's a new breed coming in, right? Although some of us would have started very young, right? Like myself, I 27 years ago, I was 14. So now I am 40. I am still just 40 years old. Some people are now starting to sing Calypso. Right? I am 40. Karina is 35, going on 36, I think, or 37 this year. Right? And so you have, so if you check up between us and let's say Chalk Dust or Alos or some of them who in their 60s, you're talking about 20 plus years again in the final. I don't want to be like that, because I think I would like to leave room for other person. I don't think I should be fighting in my 50s and my 60s to still make a final. I think it'll be hard for me.
No,
you know, and it's a lot of pressure. I don't know how other Calypsonians do it, but it's a lot of pressure. Sometimes before I go on stage, I have to have a little bottle to pee in before I go on the stage, you know, when judges night and that kind of thing. It's added pressure, it's added stress. I don't eat for the day. When results coming out, it's terrible on my hands. My family, if I'm in work, I have to leave work. I can't focus that their results. It's really bad. It's stressful for me. I take it on very bad. And especially if I don't make a final or semi-final, you know.
And I appreciate your input. I like the feedback. And yes, it is something that we could consider both sides. But one of the points you made about the improving the quality of the show, and I'm glad you mentioned that when you look at it, you see sometimes the same names. Now the thing is, you could see the same names relatively, but it's as if every year one might fall off, you know. But once you come off, that's it. Once you achieve that pinnacle, because once you reach monarchy, once it's like you reach the top of the ladder, what then? You know? So again, I'm curious to hear. I know Marsha just come and sit down and she's staying quiet tonight. Keith, I don't know what's your input on this too. Pulling all the out, man.
I could come back in then, or like nobody coming in.
Of course, or I've seen Mr. Barry, any one of you all, man. Feel free.
I could come back in.
Of course, Kamidula.
I want to endorse a lot of what Dwayne said there, right? But one of the things you have to know also, some people strive in that kind of atmosphere. A fellow like the Mighty Sparrow is an animal for competition. He loves that. It takes him to a higher level. You remember the short came with his Lego and was running away with the tongue? You remember that, yeah?
Yeah, about it.
Sparrow was singing literally nothing. He was singing a song called A Digging Horrors, A Digging. Right. It wasn't going down too well, but the bravo in the man, you know what he said? If my fans said take him, I go take him. That kind of situation for Birdie was what he strived on that. Also, to make another point Jonas making there too, there's a period where the very Calypsonians now, who were the winning monarch day in, day out, they didn't want to part as Sparrow. He was literally invincible. They couldn't beat him. And they thought that why he retire? Why he come out?
Is it that the Sparrow was really invincible, the judges?
But listen to me. Hear me out. Talk with Kelvin Pope, who I consider one of the greatest Calypso writers and Calypso as a whole. He told me personally, I mean, the boy ain't easy to beat in a competition, you know. Talk about the Sparrow. But you see what happened to Sparrow is he became so dominant over the period that the judges themselves was sold on whatever he do. As a matter of fact, he had reached a level where he could tell them, like CDC at the time, I only go in the savannah if Ashua go win. That's the extent. I hear you.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I could close up there now.
You could close up.
I can watch it now.
But I like the idea, Marcus, of the King of Kings idea. If you're saying you get to the monarchy, you win the monarchy, but there's something else after. It's like the Masters in golf. Once you win, you qualify for this big tournament of tournaments. You know what I'm saying? But there has to be something to look forward to as a Calypsonian after you would have won. I mean, if you take young London, very early in his career, are you saying that, all right, you win, you can't come back? And I mean, this man will start to sing. You know what I mean? But there must be something to go to. And it must be financially rewarding too, right? So you're doing a King of Kings, it has to be financially rewarding. The prestige is there because now you're among the best in the art form. So I endorse that idea of a King of Kings. Don't call it King of Kings, but I endorse that idea.
Yeah, that's it. You know, if you want to call it the Calypso Giants, whatever terminology we can find.
Yeah. And that could be the idea. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned young Mr. London, and I mean between he and like Keelan Francis, even Chucky, who relatively young in age. Chucky somewhat, but more so Keelan and young London.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that question of what next, if it is that rule was in place. And this is where I want to stick with my entertainment value in the Calypso. Be able to entertain, be able to stand up and hold a show. We saw with Young London, he won in 2019, but fell flat in 2020.
2020, correct. Yeah.
You know, I mean, his performance to me this year wasn't that of a monarch.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And again, go ahead.
Does this start also with the judging? Because you get the idea that the judges are not too particular. All right, what's her name won it this year with a humorous Calypso? But you get the impression, and Dwayne probably could help me and Hammy and who these practitioners of what the judges expect on a final night, and are they going to? You have to be as good as Shadow, to really get the judges. So you come with a nice, witty, funny, entertaining Calypso, and you get the impression that the judges ain't going with that because somebody come and they sing a heavy political or a heavy quote-unquote nation building. And that template, that encourages others to say, let me try that because I really want to win this thing. And the only way I could win it is by singing that. Does it also start with the judging?
Here's where I could maybe approach that question with my experience. You see, by the time it reaches to the finals, Calypso Monarch finals, it always comes down to performance. To me, the Monarch just shine that night.
And Marcus, I'm glad you said that. Because to my mind, the performance on the night is where does make the determination. Why I say that? I remember I was a little fella, Mighty Sparrow, in the 1962 independence competition. Rainer, you understand? Outshining the night, outperforming the night, because Brian had a better hold on the song, whereas Sparrow song might have been better, but didn't have it. Dwayne O'Connor in 2012, I was in the young, what they call the Young King and North Zone, and both of them I watch Dwayne and say, yeah, the way he handled himself, he carried the song. I tell myself, I want to beat him, but he beat me. You understand? So it's not so much sometimes the quality of the song, no. It's coupled with the performance also. You could sell it. When Sparrow sent me past that stage, 1974, and to see Miss Mary, big and hairy, I saying to you, I was a shadow fan that year. But when Birdie done put down, we passed that stage. I say it was all over. If you remember that performance. So it comes down to the night in question. So that young Ronaldo in 2019 would have done a super performance the night in question. But after that, he didn't have anything. It come like before we beat Tyson, Buster Douglas. One fight he had in him, and that is it. I got hush now.
Thank you well made. Thank you well made.
Yeah, but it comes down to the night. Despite who had or who would have good songs, who would have a big song, who would have a nice song. But it comes down to me, from my experience. And there were a couple of monarchs that stood out over the last couple of years. So this year, 2020, Terry pushed there on stage and all said.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Correct. I agree with you.
Yes.
Terry's pushed there said, I'll be on here tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
The year Chucky won, when he brings up a flag and thing on stage, you know, that year too, that would have been, I think, his first year. Dwayne won in 2012. When you think of Pink Panther and all that, when Pink Panther come on stage, and not even this the penmanship song, but you see when that coffin reach on stage, and that was.
But we later too, 1980, we later singing Food Prices and Take a Rest and beat King Austin with a song like Progress. So it comes down to the night in question performance.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I want to. Someone just spoke about has to do with the judges as well too. You want to question the judges sometimes in competition, huh? And you ask yourself so much questions when it comes to when it really comes to the judges. You ask yourself, one, should the judges be left for the selection of the organization, or should they be separated apart? Become like the police complaints authority. It's separated apart from the Toronto Police Service, because you want to get that kind of because I've had people who think, a lot of people think I am high on the I was or is on the executive of TUCO, which I never was, right? And they meet me in the streets, like judges meet me in the streets, and they ask me, so how come you only don't pick me? How come you don't pick me? I ask, well, what do you mean by all year? They say, well, every year I go to the seminars and I am not selected. It's only a certain group of people selected all the time. You see them only judging. Every year you see them judging the semifinals or the finals, and then they switch it again to the prelims. And when you look at it, you just look through the entire thing and you see, well, this is what according to somebody, the judges you select is the results you get, you know. It came just like last year, when in having a conversation with a certain gentleman, he indicated that to me that he was working with Tuko on the entire judging system. And when he told Tuko, look, let's start to zone the judges and not have South judges judge here and too much South judges judge here. And when the results came out, he said, you see what I told you? There was a lot of South judges that judged this year for 2019. You know, and that was a conversation, and it still remains a conversation in my mind, because the judges you select gives you, there was one particular time where only teachers was judging in the competition, and you see certain people who only make it like one particular year, there were teachers judging. And when you go back and you check, you see some people that go, I don't know if it's public knowledge. I think it should be, but people like Mr. John Barry and they to go and check the judges' scores and read some of the comments that they comment, right? Because if a judge telling you excellent performance, but then gives you 5 out of 20, something is wrong there, you know? So again, I think we have a major challenge with the judges. Some of them, they don't know what they're doing. Some of them just doing it for fun. Some of them just doing it because their friend called them to judge. And that's about it. Enough from me, Marcus.
I gave room and we opened the floor, and now we would have touched the idea, and I just see somebody else join in the chat. Good night, 007. That's the 007 had a character M, right? That's the lady who's in charge. Good evening, Michelle.
Afternoon, Marcus.
Thanks for joining.
Yes, I know I'm very late.
Yeah, but you're in time. So the last question, and I'll just repeat it, Michelle, for your benefit too. If we were to restructure the Calypso Monarchs, would you support the idea that once you won, you cannot re-enter? I'm curious to hear your feedback too on that.
Once you win, you can't re-enter.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. And I would say from the standpoint that, especially where we are right now in Calypso, we're in a very ticklish position that I think a lot of people don't want to acknowledge. Where a lot of the people who could teach us something, they are much older, and this is something that we experience in our culture in Trinidad and Tobago as a whole. The older generation, they're dwindling, but the knowledge and stuff not passing down properly to the younger generation. For whatever reason, whether it's in one instance, you know, the older people want to hold on, some young people don't want to take advice. That's that, you know, I will always go back to the generational gap market. And I think in some instances it has so many different things that we could want to blame and want to pass things on, but you see, in some ways I just say I will even take it further to talk about competition itself. Competition is good in some instances and it's not so good in others, right? And it all goes back and stems back into the Calypso tent itself and the way that we structured that platform. Because that platform is really the learning tool, you know, like the school of learning there for Calypso. That is really where supposed to be the school of learning. So now, if it is somebody win and you remove them, imagine somebody like, take for instance, last year's winner Ronaldo, right? You know, touch your foot in it and you win, and they tell you can't come back. So where are you going to redefine your group?
Now the thing is, and to answer you with that, and it's nice that you just came in and you more or less come and repeat some of the points that was made before.
Right.
And again, my response to that would be, the entertainment value. Let me see Ronaldo as an entertainer.
Well, here's the thing.
And not just the competitor.
I want to before I go back to that, I want to talk about something Dwayne talk about it, right? Dwayne, when you spoke about Dwayne still there, right?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
Yes, my love. Yes, my love. I'm here.
When he spoke about the organization and the picking of judges and all of that, right? I want to dig a little deeper, right, Dwayne? That Tuco started off as a union, right? A union for Calypsonians.
Go to the head of the class, darling.
And you see, when it is we now take Tuco and we put the whole dealing with everything with Calypso and a union together, everything started getting mixed up. So we don't really know what is what, eh? Everything in our basket there.
Anchor, mish, anchor.
We can't really target, because now if the Calypsonians, just as they bring up that point with judges, we go into the union and we go into the organizers. So who are we really talking to? You understand?
And Mish, it's very, very valuable because that you make that point, because in 2018, when the incident happened with me, with the judge, with the thing, and when I took to the court, I went to the president, because at that time the president and I were very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
So that same afternoon, my son had won the Junior Calypso Monarch, and he was there presenting my son, and I walked to him and I said, "Mr. President, I want to talk to you about a certain matter." He said, "What is that?" I said, "Well, you saw what happened with my results from the Skinner Park, and these 3 points will put me straight in the final and that kind of thing." I said, "Could we meet and discuss this?" He said, "Brother, there's a process. There's a process, brother. You have to follow the process. We can't do that. And, the usual dilly daddle that the president gives you."
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Mr. President, I want to talk to you because I don't want to go through this process, because I know, and everybody knows, that this process is a delayed tactic.
Yeah.
So that by the time the process is finished, the competition will be gone and you'll be out of it." Right? Mm-hmm. And like other persons who have done it before, and I try to quell it, I try to do it quickly, and he still insisted to me, follow the process. And I don't have a problem with following the process, but I'm just saying, could we sit down and work it out ASAP so that we won't have any major challenge? And it's not like he had something to do, and you are the president of the union, as you rightfully just say. And he didn't see it fit to say, "Brother, or friend, if me and you were so good," to come and say, "Brother, oh God, let me see how we can organize this and call the other general secretary, and work it out." But no, I had to go through the whole process, which is write that committee. Then when they get a response and I'm not satisfied, write to the general council. If I'm not satisfied, I write to our next council and go through that whole period. And when it is that we have a union who's supposed to represent us, and I agree with you there. But again, how do we separate it now?
Well, do you know how to chuck some fire by your first, before I answer? How you saying when you and the president was good or good again?
Michelle,
no.
You know how to chuck your blade.
You look for that.
No, we still good, but what I mean,
I know that's chucking here.
You're not good as before.
But Dwayne, you see, this is my problem, and I have been asking this question. I think since the change first took place, I was like, the name of this thing is Unified Calypsonians. I am like, and you know what the hard thing is, that nobody there ever saw it fit to change their name or to change that acronym. Because
I can tell you, when you see, every time there's a meeting or there's something, there's so many challenges that we face. because everybody wants to be heard. I don't know if you ever whenever come to one of the meetings and you see what is going on. Everybody wants to be heard, and it goes on and on and on and on and it makes no sense.
Doing, let me tell you, and this again, it begs the question: what are you really? Because it means that you, in your own position, don't even know what you're really representing. Because no matter what I am coming, if I tell you we're having a meeting, these are the 4 points that we are going to discuss and try to fix, because they can't fix everything in one meeting. And if you can't stick to that and decide this is what we do, and then it begs in question what it is you really standing for, where you lying. It means you don't even know what your role is.
Well, I can tell you that the president, because of the kind of person that he is, and because of the office that he holds, and because of the longevity and the continuity that he wants to have, he has to give everybody the little. I don't know if you understand all what I just say.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I have seen it. But at the end of the day, that is only going to bring more disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Because nothing is being fixed. Nothing is being fixed. Dwayne, you know, I singing from St. Juniors, and the state of the gap between juniors and seniors is poor, and it is widening more and more and getting worse. It is getting worse. A lot of those juniors, where are they going? They're not even coming across.
I can lend my voice now.
Go ahead.
Let me commend you. But I was wondering if we have time to deal with this topic. But I'm gonna try. First to begin is that TUCO has evolved from being a union to union/promoter. TUCO didn't start off like that. TUCO find itself in that way. What would happen in the early is that after the so-called superstars were taken up by the more established tents, they had a sprinkling of Calypsonians who virtually had nowhere to go. And Eric Williams, in his wisdom, the doctor, decided to put a little thing there for them behind them who couldn't get nowhere. The Starboys Calypsonians never identify with the lesser known bars, the union as it is, because they were saying they didn't need it. What has happened is with the demise of people like Sylvester Taylor and Jazzy Pantin and this and them, the very head collection who had no use for the proletariat of the Calypso fraternity found themselves coming into the organization then, and as such, they grabbed up the whole thing and extended it to themselves. So TUCO is not about developing the organization. It's what transformed into a vehicle of convenience. That is why you see what you see when it comes to the meeting, because everybody looking for themselves. Nobody is studying about development. Those of us who try are being ostracized and vilified. Thank you.
One of these days, what we will do is that even if it's not in the Calypso History Month timing, I will set up a session that we will talk about TUCO and the history of TUCO. We will invite TUCO to our session, and we will have a nice conversation. Hopefully people come, and hopefully that discussion will take place.
As an outsider looking in, I always wondered what is the benefit of being a member of TUCO, and nobody never answered me that. What benefit?
Hopefully, we'll be able to address all that in that TUCO session.
Yes.
All right. So tonight we looked at the Calypso Monarchs 1970 to 2020. We had in our midst even one of the monarchs himself. I'm doing again. I thank you for making. I mean, you've added by your very presence this evening. So thanks for being here. We do this every Tuesday and Thursday. So feel free to join us for the rest of the month. We have 3 more sessions. We take different topics and we run with it. Tonight was not one where it was almost like a lecture tonight, where I might have been doing the bulk of the talking, but some of our sessions are highly interactive, that everybody have the opportunity to give the input. Right? So, and for everybody else who come out Mr. Barry, I'm not too sure how you would have gotten the information, but I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
I'm really glad you're here. And appropriately so, with one that deals with the records as you would be a researcher in your own way.
I think that's what drew me to it.
Oh, okay.
I will try to be present as much as I can going forward for the other sessions. Thank you very much, too. I really enjoyed being a part of the discussion.
We try
and the information that you imparted.
Thank you very much. So, Olive, we had a little food for thought. On our out of these programs, sometime at the end of it, I'm not much of a writer, but I plan to put, what's that, Michelle?
Look.
but I think one of the things I want to do is document these sessions in writing, as Hamidullah would say, where once the academia people jump in the Calypso, but so my thing is not to put, but I see myself more as a researcher and to compile and put the thing together, look at trends, examine, different angles. So we would have looked at 5 generations or 5 decades of Calypso coming through the years. We would have seen certain changes, and we really at the cusp looking forward, and what do we see, and how would we like to see the next 10 years of Calypso going. I am a strong advocate for the entertainment value to return to Calypso, and we may have to examine how or why or how possible we could make that happen. So just food for thought. I mean, Michelle, you disagree with me. You're my friend and I love you. But I am one who, would want to suggest, once you have Monarch, jump back out. Thanks for coming. Leave you and
Marcus.
Yes, sir.
Before you go, my brother, watch me. I want to come in doing a corner. It was a one-day match, doing it with a make a nice 80. But you see, Michelle, she might end up being player of the match because she make 11 ball 50. I want to thank all of you people for taking part and enjoy the discussion. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ami.
All right, Ami.
Yeah, man.
And on that note, everybody. And on that note, we say good night, peace and love to everybody. All be safe.
All right.
Good night, all. Good night, all.
Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, Ami.
Stay
Dr.
safe.
Whitty, thanks again.
Yeah, you're welcome, partner, as
Oh,
always.
just before we go, let me share something with you all. On your screens, you should see it, the Calypso on the Avenue, with the masquerade ball. That's next Friday.
Yeah.
That's
We
next
have, we have a mixture of Calypso, soca, parang, coming from New York. We have performers in Florida, performers all over the place. Anybody would like to join? Let me know.
Looks good.
All right.
Thanks.
Very good.
All right,
Looks
Barry.
very good.
Yeah, man. All right, Hammy.
Okay. Thanks again, all.
Take care. Good night, Marsha.
Good night, all.
Wait, now, Marsha, good night.
Oh my God.
Stay quiet tonight.
Okay.
All right. Good night. Good night.
Okay.
Night, everybody. I'm not feeling too well today, so keep quiet. But
All right, darling Marsha.
Hey, Marsha.
I will still get your bill. Don't feel like get away.